The year was 1783, a year that marked a significant turning point in history, not just for the American colonies, but for the world. The sun rose on a new era, casting its golden light over a land that had fought fiercely for its independence. The streets of colonial towns were filled with a sense of anticipation and hope as the people looked forward to the possibilities that lay ahead. The Revolutionary War was over, and the Treaty of Paris recognized the United States as an independent nation. This monumental agreement was the culmination of years of struggle and sacrifice. Diplomats from both sides gathered to sign the treaty, their quill pens etching a new chapter in history. The American and British flags stood side by side, a symbol of the hard-won peace and the beginning of a new relationship between the two nations. Bells rang in celebration across the states, echoing the joy and relief of a people who had endured so much. Yet, the real challenge was just beginning, building a country from scratch. The streets were alive with celebration, but beneath the surface, there was an understanding that the road ahead would be fraught with difficulties. The task of creating a unified nation from a collection of independent states was daunting, and the people knew it would require determination and vision. The states were in debt, economies were in shambles, and trade with Britain had ceased. The war had left scars on the land and its people. Farms lay in ruins, fields were abandoned, and fences were broken. Shopkeepers counted worthless currency, their market stalls empty. The economic chaos was a stark reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. The new nation needed to find a way to rebuild and prosper, to create a stable economy that could support its people. Without a strong central government, states acted independently, often more loyal to themselves than to a united nation. The map of America was a patchwork of divided states, each with its own flag and interests. Colonial leaders engaged in heated discussions, their voices echoing the tensions and disagreements that threatened to tear the young nation apart. The need for a unified government was clear, but achieving it would require compromise and cooperation. Soldiers returned to find economic chaos, with worthless paper money and neglected farms. These men, who had fought bravely for their country's freedom, now faced the harsh reality of life after war. Their farms were overgrown, their homes dilapidated. Families reunited, but the joy of homecoming was tempered by the struggle to rebuild their lives. The soldiers' sacrifices had won independence, but the battle for prosperity was just beginning. The promise of America was vast, stretching from the Atlantic to the Mississippi, but unity was essential. The land was rich with potential, its forests and rivers offering resources and opportunities. Yet, to harness this potential, the states needed to come together as one nation. The glowing borders of the expanding United States were a testament to the possibilities that lay ahead, but only if the people could find a way to work together. The American people needed a government that could provide stability and prosperity. Town hall meetings were filled with debate as citizens discussed the future of their nation. The Founding Fathers gathered in candlelit rooms, their discussion shaping the foundation of a new government. They knew that the decisions they made would determine the course of the nation's future, and they were determined to create a system that would ensure stability and prosperity for generations to come. The years following the Revolution were a time of trial, debate, and political struggle. The colonial assemblies were scenes of heated debate, as delegates argued over the best path forward. Parchment drafts and quills were the tools of political struggle, as the leaders of the new nation worked to create a government that could meet the needs of its people. The tension in the Philadelphia State House was palpable, as the delegates grappled with the challenges of building a nation from the ground up. The future of the United States hung in the balance as the world watched this bold new republic. The globe turned, focusing on North America, as other nations observed the unfolding drama. The American flag rose over a Capitol-like building, a symbol of the new nation's aspirations. Crowds watched anxiously, aware that the eyes of the world were upon them. The United States was a bold experiment in democracy, and its success or failure would have far-reaching implications for the future of the world. The Articles of Confederation, adopted in 1781, marked the first attempt by the newly independent American states to form a unified national government. After years of struggle against British rule, the states were wary of creating another powerful central authority. Instead, they designed a system that prioritized the independence and sovereignty of each state, hoping to preserve the freedoms they had just fought so hard to win. This cautious approach, however, resulted in a central government that was extremely weak. Under the Articles, Congress had very limited powers. It could not levy taxes to raise revenue, nor could it draft soldiers into a national army. Even the enforcement of laws was left up to the individual states, making it nearly impossible for Congress to ensure that its decisions were carried out. The consequences of these limitations soon became clear. The national government found itself perpetually broke, unable to pay off the massive debts incurred during the Revolutionary War or to provide wages for the soldiers who had fought for independence. Many veterans waited months, even years, for the compensation they were promised, leading to widespread frustration and unrest. Making matters worse, the states often ignored Congress's requests for money or support. Each state acted like its own small country, printing its own currency and setting its own economic policies. There was no uniformity, and the lack of cooperation made it difficult to address national issues. Merchants and travelers faced confusion and hardship as they moved from state to state, forced to exchange different currencies and pay taxes on goods crossing state lines. This patchwork system stifled trade and economic growth as states competed rather than collaborated. The Articles also failed to establish a national executive, such as a president, or a federal court system to resolve disputes. Without these crucial institutions, the government lacked the authority and structure needed to address conflicts or enforce national laws. As a result, Congress was overwhelmed by a flood of petitions, complaints, and unresolved issues. Delegates struggled to keep up, and many problems simply went unsolved, fueling public dissatisfaction and uncertainty about the future. This era, known as the critical period, was marked by economic turmoil, political infighting, and a general sense of instability. States argued over borders, trade, and debts, while the value of money plummeted and businesses failed. The dream of a strong, united nation seemed to be slipping away. Ordinary citizens began to question whether the sacrifices of the revolution had been in vain. Was this fragile confederation truly capable of protecting their rights and securing their future? Doubts grew as the government's weaknesses became more apparent. Visionary leaders like George Washington and James Madison recognized that the Articles of Confederation were simply too weak to hold the young nation together. They saw the urgent need for a stronger, more effective government that could unite the states and address the challenges facing the country. As the crisis deepened, calls for change grew louder. Delegates from across the states gathered to discuss a new plan for government, one that would replace the Articles of Confederation with a constitution capable of forging a lasting union and securing the promise of the American Revolution. In the years following the American Revolution, economic hardship swept across Massachusetts, hitting its farmers especially hard. These were not just any farmers, many were men who had fought bravely in the war for independence, only to return home to find themselves struggling to make ends meet. The promise of a better life after the revolution seemed to fade as debts mounted and the economy faltered. Many of these struggling individuals were war veterans, men who had risked everything for their country. Now, they faced a new battle, not on the battlefield, but on their own land, as they tried to provide for their families in a time of economic crisis. The state government, desperate for revenue, imposed high taxes that many farmers simply could not pay. As debts piled up, the threat of losing their land, and with it, their freedom and livelihood, became all too real. Foreclosure notices arrived, and land was seized, leaving families destitute and angry. In 1786, a former captain in the Continental Army named Daniel Shays emerged as a leader among the discontented. Rallying his fellow farmers, Shays led a rebellion aimed at shutting down courthouses to prevent judges from ordering more foreclosures. The movement quickly gained momentum as more and more people joined the cause. The protesters saw themselves not as lawbreakers, but as patriots fighting for justice. They demanded fair treatment, lower taxes, and relief from crushing debts. Their actions were fueled by a sense of betrayal. They had fought for liberty, only to be oppressed by the very government they had helped create. As tensions escalated, Shays and his followers attempted to seize weapons from a federal arsenal in Springfield, hoping to strengthen their position and force the government to listen to their demands. This bold move marked a turning point, transforming the protest into a full-blown rebellion. In response, a privately funded militia was raised by wealthy citizens who feared the spread of unrest. The militia confronted the rebels, and after a brief but intense clash, the uprising was crushed. Many rebels were arrested, and some were even sentenced to death, though most were later pardoned. The shockwaves from Shays' rebellion rippled throughout the young nation. Politicians and citizens alike were alarmed by how close the country had come to chaos. The rebellion exposed the glaring weaknesses of the national government under the Articles of Confederation, which lacked the power to maintain order or respond effectively to crises. Ultimately, Shays' rebellion served as a wake-up call. It convinced many leaders that a stronger, more effective government was needed to protect property, maintain order, and ensure the stability of the nation. This realization paved the way for the Constitutional Convention and the creation of a new framework for American government. Shays' rebellion underscored the need for change, leading to the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Delegates aimed to replace the Articles with a new system of government. The convention, presided over by George Washington, was a gathering of brilliant minds. The biggest debate was over representation, resolved by the Great Compromise. A two-house Congress was established, the House of Representatives based on population and the Senate with equal representation. This compromise paved the way for a new constitution, creating a stronger government. With the Great Compromise, delegates crafted a government that balanced strength and liberty. Federalism divided power between national and state governments. The separation of powers created three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. Checks and balances ensured no single branch could dominate. In September 1787, the Constitution was complete. Benjamin Franklin urged its signing, and it was sent to the states for ratification. A national debate began, requiring 9 states' approval to become law. After ratification, the new government needed leadership. George Washington was unanimously chosen as the first president. His journey to New York City was a victory parade, and he took office with great care. Washington formed the first presidential cabinet, including Jefferson and Hamilton. Their differing visions shaped early political parties. The Bill of Rights, led by James Madison, addressed concerns about individual freedoms. Ratified in 1791, it became a cornerstone of American liberty. The new nation faced massive debt, and Alexander Hamilton devised a bold financial plan. He proposed the federal government pay off all debts and assume state debts, binding states to the national government. A compromise moved the capital to the Potomac River, securing support for the plan. Hamilton's national bank idea sparked debate but was ultimately approved, stabilizing the economy. His financial strategies laid the foundation for the nation's economic growth. The Treaty of Paris granted the U.S. vast western lands, sparking a wave of settlement. The Land Ordinance and Northwest Ordinance provided orderly growth and banned slavery in new territories. Native American nations resisted, leading to conflict. Washington's government struggled with treaties and warfare. The Battle of Fallen Timbers and Treaty of Greenville opened Ohio to settlement, but tensions remained. The U.S. was a small nation amid powerful empires facing British and Spanish challenges. Washington's foreign policy focused on neutrality to avoid war. The Jay Treaty, though unpopular, secured British withdrawal from western forts. Pinckney's treaty with Spain opened the Mississippi River and New Orleans to American trade. By the end of Washington's presidency, the U.S. had a stable government, growing economy, and respect on the world stage. The foundation for a powerful republic was laid through struggle and strong leadership.